Julian,
Oh, okay. This is not the normal connection, is it? Maybe it is.
not the normal connection.
I mean, the normal contact. But it's fine.
Um, I'm not sure. I think so. From the last time I talked to you,
Okay, that's cool.
maybe. I don't know if I how what I would have done differently. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, actually.
Kick
So,
ass. That's good to hear.
so I read very briefly what you wrote to me, but did you want to maybe summarize again in your own words again?
What I wrote to you right after our first session.
Well, it was May 14th. Basically, I guess you were sharing that you wanted to. Well, that's about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was like the day after our session.
Okay. Well, then what's going on these days?
Well, that would be good to talk about too. We could start there. I just don't have that right in front of me, and I'm trying to remember what I wrote to you. Maybe I
Uh,
can pull it up. Maybe I can pull it up.
it's fine. We go wherever you want to start, wherever you want to play.
Well, that was incredible that next day. Oh my gosh, that was like now it's all coming back to me right now. So that was a really vivid, crazy day. I mean, nothing's been the same since that session with you, really, in my life. So that's why I wanted to talk to you again. So,
and and so basically you're seeing it all come through now, huh? Or you're seeing
um,
connections.
which part? Go ahead.
You're seeing the connections now.
I'm I'm uh I guess they are just coming in more clearly.
Okay.
So I guess that makes them easier to see. Yeah, I mean I'm still yeah, the it's it's breaking through. I don't want to say it's breaking through, but there are perceptual boundaries and barriers that were kind of that were stronger than I needed them to be. And when I after that I talked to you, um, I mean the next morning, yeah, I remember now what I was in the water with the crystals and I had this like major ecstatic, joyful, laughing experience, and then and then the, and then the whole week leading up to me, I mean it all makes sense. It was leading up to the I did uh, I had a really profound experience Saturday morning during the Pleiadian portal
Uh-huh.
activation deal at 10 in the morning. That whole morning was just was literally out of this world. So, and you had a ton to do with that. I mean, you had everything to do with that because I started putting out the names of everybody that you gave me, and I had a conference call experience for the first time
Oh,
um, ever.
wow. Well,
I
that's
had
that's awesome.
yeah. Go, yeah. I'm talking a lot. Are you, what are you getting right now? Do you need to say anything? I
Um,
can,
well, I'd like to continue to hear what it was like because there's quite a few shifts, overall shifts for everybody in the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
yeah,
things have gotten sort of like another wave of challenge has shown up for about half the people,
yeah.
and I was wondering if you had gone through that yourself.
Challenge.
Challenges in some really interesting, perhaps difficult life moments.
Oh man. Um,
You either were in or you weren't.
I think, I think, I mean, I'm kind of always, I mean, I'm having those because I'm processing deep core, birth, implanted programs with the whole declaring my sovereignty thing to the to the state essentially, to the
Uh,
corporation posing as the state, and putting that all out there, with with I always want to say Tamara, with Tamara. We're talking. Heather and I are talking to Tamara tonight at 10 o'clock, your time. No, yeah, your time.
So in 3 hours.
Midnight here. Yeah, after I'm done talking to you. So, but yeah, that whole thing has stirred up a ton of stuff, and it was part and parcel of why. It's clear to me. It's all connected to why I've contacted you and why this is happening. It's all building for me to something that it feels, because I'm so conscious and I'm awake and aware of everything, those kind of, the drama that I've been going through, it feels more separate for me. Like it's something I can, I've meditated for a long time, so I can separate myself from any little bouts of panic and stuff that I'm having and be like, oh wow, that's a big fear coming up right there. Oh my God. So that was happening a lot with like state induced fear, essentially, because I basically laid all my cards out on the table in a totally conspicuous and transparent way, in a way that I hadn't no idea that I was going to be doing until it was happening, essentially. So,
Almost
so I
like
think
you didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice at all. I mean, that whole story. I wish our show was longer than a half an hour. We only have like a 45-minute slot, but the whole story of how that happened is nuts. I mean, it's totally beyond my. It's it's not. It was stuff that was handed down to me. I'll tell you sometime. It's a long story of how that all unfolded with the wedding signature T-shirt on and going in the DMV and all that stuff. But yeah, it's all connected to the freedom stuff that you were telling me last week about Osiris, and how me getting more freedom oriented is opening up my telepathic and just all of my communicative channels with the Pleiadians. Number one, after when I started going back to Saturday morning, I started saying their names, and I started hearing the distinct voices, and it sounded like almost all of them except for Mara were in the same space. And I could hear them like kind of making asides to each other and joking to each other, and then they would step more lower and talk to me louder as I was running through them.
Like you're in a room with them.
Yeah.
Yep. I know the feeling.
I've never had that experience except with one at a time, where I thought it was just the one all the time on the Opal tour and before, and it was actually more than one, which I got that from you, and I didn't realize that before. But I heard somebody who I don't think we talked about last week. I know we didn't. Somebody called me son a couple times, and that was really intense. And that was a separate guy from the beige guy that you told me. They sounded like beige. Beige, separate guy from that guy. That was really profound for me, because I never really had a father, and I didn't even get emotional about it. And I was asking
who he was.
Telepathically who he was, and he said at that moment that it didn't matter. I didn't need to know the details, because I knew who it was. He knew that I knew the connection right at that moment. It was kind of like he didn't want me to get too overwhelmed, I think, but I didn't feel overwhelmed at all. I felt like super overjoyed and calm. Like I wasn't emotional. It was amazing. I was just stunned. I wasn't really expecting that at all.
Did you remember what he was talking in context to?
He talked to me the least. It's like he just bleeped in and said how proud, he was of me. And
all right, I'll just let you know a couple of things about him. He's a 7th dimensional Pleiadian, so they tend to be more like observers and guides when asked, for the Pleiadians themselves. And it's not exactly like being a parent to the Pleiadians, but the 7th dimensional Pleiadians are like on the bridge of not being physical, so to speak.
Right.
So they're kind of like not overwhelmed by anything. Like they always hold their very broad perspective, and so they don't exist in a whole lot of ego ways.
That's what I felt completely.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
a lot of people would call him Father in the way that we talk to God.
Right.
More like in sort of like a loving, not a genetic way.
That's what it felt like. And by the terminology, the emotion and the feeling that I got from that being was so not associated with my lexicon of what like father means, like even in just like
Right.
any earthly terms anywhere, even in an ideal situation, because there's just like exactly like you just said, there was like zero. It was it was a different energy from some of the other Pleiadians that were in the room that I was talking to.
Yeah,
Broader.
he's a little bit like halfway between the appearance of like what we think of like as a bearded god and like a Santa Claus. But he's not bearded. That's the weird part, right?
He didn't seem bearded.
He he has a
Oh.
name to give you if you want to refer to him in the future.
Okay.
It's Leo.
Leo?
Yeah. Like Leonard, but not.
Leo. Okay. I'm a Leo.
That's ideal.
That's hilarious.
It'd be easy to remember.
Awesome. Yeah, that morning was profound. I mean, the stuff that happened that morning is nuts. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's partially related to you, actually. So you have a genetic predisposition to be connected with him, but
Okay.
it's not actually a very big part of your life. Not really. He's actually more involved with your other guys. If that makes sense.
That's what it seemed like. It seemed like he was just poking his head in.
He's like a one-off sort of thing. But you can obviously always ask him questions directly. Let me just get a sense right here. He'll speak very plain. He'll speak very straight.
Yep.
And the sort of things he's giving me is that he would speak along the lines of causality, as in how things come into effect. So he's really good if you are sensitive to ask him questions about how things came to be, a little bit like an Akashic reader or something, or just the fundamentals of physics.
That sounds good. I've never had a connection like that I've been conscious of. Geez, not. Wow, that's cool.
Like, for instance, he's letting me know how a planet is created, and how the multiple dimensions are created once the consciousness is coalesced to a degree, and how planets will occupy multiple dimensions. And he's telling me, like, yeah, stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, I don't think I ever had questions on that. So
that sounds like that's definitely would be my genetic or my line or whatever you said I was related, because I've always been the big question ponderer. That's kind of my whole thing since I was very young. It was kind of I had a very early awareness of my life's mission just being understanding like why we are here and what we're supposed to be doing, and that like pretty much drove me from a really young age, like all the big existential questions, like all that stuff. I was into that when I was like 14, so that would make complete sense to me that would be opening up to me right now. It's something that I haven't been able to handle, I don't think, in the last few years, because I've had so much chaos going on in my 3D life.
He's trying to tell me something. You're familiar with video games, right?
I spent a lot of time playing them when I was a child, for sure.
Well, you'll have a general idea about, to have a successful video game, you got to have certain elements in it, certain patterns in the mix. He's saying that pattern is used over and over and over again. You just add a couple different ingredients to the soup to give it its originality. And that's how just about all consciousness develop identity. So there's a reoccurring pattern. It doesn't even have, it's so, okay, hold on. It's so, at this point, non-original that, that really it's like a universal soup broth that you can do anything you want with it, right? It's the formula of having different strata of consciousness activities and levels of density involved. So it's like if you were to write a story, you need to have the different layers of drama involved. And within a game, you have the different levels of interactions and different themes that come together. And it's a very consistent pattern. You know? And he's trying to explain it to me, but it's a little over my head. But he's just like, whatever, you know.
It's far removed from, it's Godhead stuff, yeah. Far removed from our day-to-day
typical awareness,
point-to-point activities. Yeah, that's the stuff where it's just like, well, I should just be sitting under the tree with my legs crossed forever, and then I get drawn towards that, and then I get the Pleiadian impetus comes back where I'm supposed to be doing all these interactive missions. And then I don't know, sometimes I'm like, which way am I supposed to be going to be more true to who I am? That's been a reoccurring thing a lot for me over the years.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Everything I'm getting is that it's a whole lot less complicated than you might have imagined.
Well, that's good. Wow.
That it's really
sounds good
along the lines of discovering where your heart is and getting to know what your heart is. Getting to know what proclivity your higher being has beyond the programs that you were raised with. And then in that discovery, you'll feel you want to take a step forward with it. You want to take steps forward in that nature. As you discover and you feel, it becomes knowing. And that knowing makes taking action in anything opposite from that, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. I don't even know which way to go. There's so much in one of the things I really wanted, are you getting other information from this thread that we should go with before I sort of went in a different direction?
No, go ahead. It'll come back if it does.
One of the things I wanted to talk with you about this time for sure, which is going right out of what you were just saying, that's why I thought of it. God, it's hard for me to even talk about. It's something that comes up a lot in our circles and a lot of the people that we love and fraternize with and have been doing this kind of building and communication with for years now, is the whole following your heart and things only go off cue if you're going against where your higher guides really want you to go, yada yada. All that stuff is layered, of course, as you just alluded to with the conversation about Leo. The farther out you get, your perspectives change, obviously, but I'm shrinking it down more to, this is what we were talking about. This is the continuum, right, of all the different existences on the different levels and the different dimensions. Because when what's happening with me right now, a lot of what's going on with the last 2 weeks, is that I'm coming to the point of where I was 10, 12 years ago when I was way far out in front of the curve, let's say, or at least, I mean, I was on the smaller percentage back then. I mean, I've been kind of awake
Yeah.
in the matrix doing stuff since '87, right? So by 2002, I'm getting on an all raw food diet. I'm totally conscious of what just happened with 9/11 and all of that shit. I'm a hardcore activist. I'm like I'm a poet, play crazy guitar, all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I got like 4 or 5 projects going at the same time, and everything's humming at a really high level. I'm getting like superpower stuff. I'm getting really telepathic, instant manifestation of stuff that I want to have happen. Um, I can see people's energy fields like in a way that I haven't been able to since ever actually. So all that stuff was happening, and when that was blooming for me, I got attacked like super duper super hard. It's like I lit up on the grid, right? Like the whole what Drumvalo talks about with people who get in certain meditative states that didn't used to know this in the 80s and 90s. They would light up like a town of like 30,000 people or something like that, and the dark surveillance grid, they could see those people. They looked like towns, and they were just people.
Yep.
So anyway, so a whole circle of things unfolded from that, and basically ended up 4 years later, yada yada yada. I mean, I can't. I mean, it'd be multiple stories, sessions to even get into all of that stuff. But it involved a marriage and a divorce and multiple suicides that were close to me and all this stuff. Bad stuff. So I came out on the other side of that in reeling, you know, right? Coming from a place of like complete fearlessness to a lot of physical problems and just feeling like I was essentially like, I don't want to light up like that again because I don't want to go through that again. And only like 2 or 3 years ago did I start to see that that we were going to come out on top of all of this.
Uh-huh.
So I'm coming up against that again all the time right now. Every 4 or 5 days, I feel like I'm about to.
How bright is too bright?
Right. It's like I want spaceships. You know what I mean? Like when I'm fully, I want this stuff to happen. I'm like ready. You know, like, and I get in this. I was just in a meditation about it before I talked to you. This is how I first got my contact started. In the summer of. Was it 2012 or was it 2011? I think it was 2012. Coming up on 2 years now. Early summer 2012, or was it 2011? It was 2012. Yeah, because I got in a meditation where I was like, I want this history to happen here now, and I got in this major love. You know, I was calling out to all these people that I know by name now. I didn't know who they were by name, but I was basically calling Pleiadian crew, and I was there, and that's when I got the first bing. I got contact with like a tangible. They literally turned the light bulb on, a a burnt out light bulb like lit up like really slowly. The filament like turned up and filled the light really bright in front of me. Did I tell you this already?
No, you haven't said this part.
Oh, okay. And then it went down,
Oh.
and then I was like, "Oh my God, you have to do that again." So I know that that really just happened. I mean, and I'm still holding on to this like blissed out meditation, even though I'm talking. And then it went back up and on again, like super bright again. And then went down and out again.
When you receive validation like that.
Yeah.
Some people only get to that point of being willing to allow that experience when they've basically gone almost to the, off the deep end.
Right. What does that mean? What is that? That's what I'm talking about. What does off the deep end mean?
Off the deep end is release. It's letting go of expectations. It's no longer associating with the momentum that you came in with.
Right. Okay, exactly. So that's where I was at. This circles back perfectly. That's where I was at. I was in like full-blown fearless living. I'm evolved. My friends and I were talking about how we were going to become like a different hominid species eventually, like people who just stayed on the diets that we were eating. Like I was writing a novel every day. I forgot about that too. I wrote a novel during that time period that's about interdimensional reality. It's about different time, space periods being stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
that
just
was
how it is.
before I knew any of this stuff. Like really, it was
Yeah.
like way out there, and I thought I was totally crazy in the late '90s when all that stuff was coming to me. And that was like I was getting attacked back then so hard all the time, and that was like the Archon invasion in '96 that I didn't know. Now I look back at my life, and that makes so much sense to me. That's when the chemtrails were starting and all that stuff, the mid '90s. But point is, so I'm coming back up against this again on this thread. The point is the Pleiadian connection that has been way catalyzed into another level with you and started more openly with the light bulb on and off, when they were basically telling me, we hear you, but we can't materialize a huge ship in the sky over Minneapolis right now. Even that's what you will. It's really, really, really what you want. And I wanted it so bad. So they were basically telling me that they heard me, but they weren't gonna do that right at that moment.
There's a couple threads, and they're telling me right now that they're going to try to make it very clear so that you can hear exactly what is between that happening and what you currently know. So, on one level, it does happen. That reality, all realities exist.
Right.
So what you're doing is aligning with the reality where that is existing. And the timing of it is non-essential. It happens in that place where you're teleporting to a time and place where that happens.
The time's not real.
So what is not in alignment with that is all that you feel may occur should that happen. Okay? And not being truly in balance with that type of catalytic event. See, on one level, you have extreme empathy for everyone around you. And so an event like that would basically catalyze a shift in time and space to a world that you don't know. It'll become a new world at that, and when that happens, you see.
Right.
So what you're looking at is like joining the world of Star Wars or Star Trek.
Right.
Right?
I feel like my heart is pining for that.
It is. But what you're looking at is within your human existence is the relationships you have. You have a pre-existing momentum and you have pre-existing grounding feelings about all that's around you.
And those are my assignments, right?
Because it's not just Minneapolis that's going to have a giant ship. You know, the world changes because of this. So everything that you know needs to be welcomed for the unknown. Now, you know that many people, which are part of you, many people don't welcome the unknown.
Right. I know that.
Now,
of course.
Now, you know that you're not like a lot of people, but you're also involved in a reality where you are choosing to be around a lot of people who do have fear and are very fearful of the unknown, and they're fragments of you. They're aspects of you. So when you can find such a way that if a ship showed up, that you and you know everyone around you would be absolutely in their heart, then you're in alignment. Because that's all the Pleiadians are. They are full love alignment.
Right.
And they will only show up when you feel that everyone you know would automatically feel that wonderful benefit. That's why there have been social programming to make people afraid of ships and make people afraid of the unknown, especially when it comes to ships and whatnot. Like Independence Day was one social engineering project, and on one level, it's there. On another level, it's not, because no one has truly had the experience of Independence Day. But when you look at the screen, it is a reality. Okay? I'm going to tell you the next step. The next step is write that reality. Write it out. Literally, that novel that and concept, you were talking about multiple dimensions. You do that. You choose it, and it becomes real. Tell the story of what happens when a large ship shows up. Run it through your mind, run it through the experience, make it real. Make it realistic, make the characters realistic, and you'll know that you are inviting through a doorway portal. A small act can make a big difference as you have your heart poured through what would happen. And you will discover your characters in that story. You'll discover what happens. You'll see it and you'll process it, even if you never sell the book. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's no small thing. It's a leap for you as much as it would be for everyone else. Okay? So, they're the world of Star Wars and the world of Star Trek, they're real worlds.
Yes.
They are as real in every small detail. But there are worlds that are a bit more universal than those. They're like Star Wars, but, you know, the ships don't function exactly the same way or whatever, you know. But there are such things as lightsabers, there's such things as laser guns, all these things, right? But there are worlds that more people share in common. So when you look at Star Wars, you're like, wow, wouldn't it be great to be in that world? Well, there's a world that's more enjoyable than that. That world is like looking and enjoying old black and white films compared to what's really there. That's
right.
More enjoyable.
Oh yeah, I understand. Of course.
Right? So it's so it's a limited, archaic perspective.
For sure.
And so, write the one that you know.
Yeah, I just meant that metaphorically when you said Star Wars, yeah. I mean, there's everything. They have so much duality in those. And obviously, those stories are all about duality.
They do, and duality still exists.
Of course.
Definitely, it's not just all the galactic, Federation of Light against reptilians. There's like an infinite number of bad guys that have technology. Why?
Right.
Because they're invited to be so. There's lots of bad, mean Pleiadians too.
Right.
Like real snots. Go around joining regular Pleiadian societies and, building something in the name of peace and love, and then, flipping the switch and making everything shit. They have.
Yeah.
But that's part of why why their telepathic nature is so profound and their empathy is so high, because they'll sniff this out. It takes the most greatest mastermind Pleiadians to do that. And then what they also do is, because they understand energy, no one can hide with that much energy.
Right.
Right? Those people stand out like a light bulb.
To them, yeah.
So they have a relatively sheltered reality, most of them. Right. And they're here now, and they're coming here now, not because they want to superimpose this love reality they have. We're asking for them to show up, little by little. And they're asking us to see a more dense reality. So the ones that are here, not all Pleiadians are coming, by the way. The ones that are coming are the ones interested in this very, this place that we call Earth, and the society we call society. And, at least in my case, they watch the television shows and they ask me questions. They watch our television. And they've gotten to know what our version of drama is. They've learned what our version of comedy is. And all the different types of comedy. The comedies almost seems to be different in every country.
Of course.
And so they learn these things. And the more that they acclimate and become comfortable with that, they also become more resonant to who we are and coming here. Now, one of the bigger hiccups, despite the drama that they're not yet, gelling with, is this non-understanding of our personal empowerment and need for representations of it, like cash. they're not sure how to come here with their technology and share that when people are still so caught by an illusion there, right? Their technology in the past, when it's been brought, it's become a form of power, like power grab in the way that we
Sure.
make money, right? So on one level, the only technology they bother sharing is the kind that you have to figure out on your own, that you basically you look at something and you get inspired to believe it's possible, and then you figure it out. So on a lot of levels, there is connections being made with Pleiadians who have already, figured out what it's like to live as a human, and they're becoming human. And then on the other level, there's individuals like you and I who are becoming more Pleiadian and learning what it is like to be a part of their society. Even as much as I've been through, I realize I'm still super unprepared for just going and hanging out with them on a ship for an afternoon.
Yeah, sometimes I think I keep pulling myself back towards what I feel like. This is why I wanted to talk more about the 13 people that you said were like my crew with this level stuff.
Yeah.
Assignments and missions and all that stuff. I actually heard that's just changed everything for me. And this is the big conundrum. One of I'm trying to take it to heart that you're telling me it's not as complicated as it seems, but because it seems fairly complicated often. I just stay in the moment, and then it's not complicated because the now is never complicated. But anything stretched beyond that. So I heard them. This came up a lot on the Opal tour and all the campfire conversations. I have internalized very completely the notion of leading with humility in almost everything I do all the time, and I feel like it has served me really well through a lot of stuff. The pendulum sort of swung too far from what I've been told what I can ascertain, because I was so the opposite of that when I was younger. So I swung way back the other way. So when I heard you telling me stuff about that, I knew it. When you were telling me it about how I was this deep undercover person, and that I was basically that I was a commander and all of this stuff. I heard that Saturday morning. They called me that, like in unison from that conference call.
Yes.
When I was like in a really happy, blissed out meditation and like wanting to, I started saying their names and connecting with them because it's Pleiadian Portal Day, right? It's like birthday day. So I was focusing on that, and it was like so much love. And I heard them. They called me. I heard them say commander. And I heard it again yesterday. It was like snapping me out of just my 3D, like I'm going through the motions. That's the whole thing. It's like things haven't broke yet, right? We haven't had spaceships. The arrests, we haven't had conspicuous sightings in a way that the mainstream media can't deny. Let's put it that way. We, of course, had lots of spaceships. We haven't had the arrest scenario happen. And I'm like, am I supposed to, I built all of this social capital in my community here. I'm connected with lots of people. I've been out in public at a very conspicuous. I ran for city council with Ventura's party. I ran restaurants, all that kind of stuff. I'm on a street corner talking to people in public about music all the time now. What I do for music. So I'm really good at the glad handing and like all the hospitality industry stuff. But part of me is like, I need to just go get somewhere and be in Mount Shasta and meditating. It's like, am I supposed to? I feel like I'm supposed to be part of the people who are calming people down when stuff happens, but the months keep going by and the weeks keep going by and the event or whatever hasn't happened. So I keep thinking, am I supposed to? Because what you just said, to be in a situation where I'm having more open and conspicuous contact, right? You said the people around me need to be in the same heart space. Well, that's not the case where I'm at, unless I'm raised so high that I'm just elevating it around people, which that has happened. I can do that.
Let me tell you what they're saying.
So am I supposed to move? I'm
For
supposed to leave
what?
Minneapolis.
Listen for just for the moment.
Sorry.
What they're, I just don't want to forget what they're trying to say. I don't know who it is exactly saying it, but what they're saying, and they're basically following along with this, is that the reason why there are other people and the reason why you interact with them is that every time you do that, each single person you speak with affects something along the lines of 10,000 people on the whole planet.
Right.
Okay, so
I know that.
To 10,000 people at once. So you take your time. Now it's not even really 10,000 people. That's just the effect that transports you to the next reality. Okay? So it's essentially there's 10,000 times less people on the planet than you've been told. Okay? And as you reach out and speak with people, and if you speak with 100 people, you're talking with 1 million people, really. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that? And as you process their reactions and empathize with what they're going through and speak to them with your heart and speak to them on their level and at levels that you can, you're speaking with yourself. You're transitioning your own reality. Now, some people, they do this thing where it's not humility, right? They basically saying, you got to believe this. You got to hear me. This is the way it is. You know?
Right.
I don't do what they're doing is they're ignoring the natural process of themselves talk back. If you say this is the way it is, then they're not going to be willing to tell you where they come from. Exactly. See? So there's non-allowance in, it's like there's no flexibility in what you're directing. So you need to be in that place, or you're being asked to be in that place, so that you can actually receive what people are saying in response to what you're sharing, and then you will process exactly what an entire city might be like should a ship show up. Right. See this.
So I agreed to do this beforehand, and this is why I'm not in a mountain by myself, right? Because I feel obligated. Am I supposed to? It's not obligation. I don't know. You're almost like. I'm gonna give you something that might make it come together. Okay. It's not from me, so I'm just gonna take a moment to feel it through. Be quiet. Imagine that you're documenting for the whole world this transition so that people will check out your documentary, and you want to be very succinct, clear, respectful, and open to the entire world audience, no matter who they are. I can do that. So it may feel like you're talking in very general terms, but the only way that you're really going to get through is to speak from your own experience. Is basically tell your story. And your story is on levels that haven't been physically experienced. Okay? Your imagination has levels of your reality that you can't even say that you've done physically. But they're also invitation for thought to digest from your outer reality, from all those mirrors of yourself. As you address, as you share, and as you allow them their perspective to be reflected back to you so that you can hear the commentary, so that you can hear their thoughts, so that you don't necessarily become a rock star, but you become that person that people want to talk to about this sort of thing. I'm so naturally like that already. I mean, that's what I've,
And
yeah, that's what I've been doing.
this is what they're saying.
Yes.
This is the way that you will be most comfortable and most effective.
So I'm supposed to tell my real story? Oh my
No,
God.
you'll tell stories at all levels. Your real story and the realities that you're connected.
uh, so this
Okay?
goes back to my block from before because
You're not
because
sure exactly what the sharing mechanism looks like.
no, when I shined that brightly before, I got attacked
No.
really
We'll
hard.
call you an artist.
That's
Okay?
why I have a block about that because it was so bad.
Well,
Jesus.
that's literally that part of you that says, I don't feel ready for this mission to go through yet.
Well, I get there it's just happening all the time. It's like I'm there, like right now I'm there. And then it doesn't it does I'm not seeing what I want to see or something happen. There's some sort of level
The
of frustration,
expectations
expectation,
are
exactly.
your projections not realized when what you're not doing is you're not respecting that you just simply don't know how it's going to happen. You need to respect that you don't know how it's going to
But
happen.
don't you have to make it happen too?
You ask it to happen.
Ask it to happen.
You're just like you're asking yourself to go to the bus stop.
Right. You don't make it
Out
happen.
over it. And you don't flip out if the bus is late. You say, well, it's late. I knew it
Oh
could.
yeah.
I knew it could be early and I missed it.
Right.
And you just have to accept that those are there. They're implicit. But when you speak from a place that feels like an imagination space, you feel like you have so much control that there's no allowing involved. It's just your imagination, and that it's all choice based. But that's what the lighter realities are.
That's the vortex.
The lighter realities, like your dream realities and your
Right.
mental space realities, they don't have as thick a structure. They are more flexible, and you are more of a master of them than you are a master of this level of dense, visible reality. Okay? But they're all in concert.
Right.
They're
I'm
overlapping
getting that.
and they So on one level, you can be
The plasticity is crazy.
you can be absolutely intense on this level of physical reality and talk about your life very physically, or you can tell your story 10 times of what your dreams and get the same effect.
Wait, so what are you saying? So does that mean
So
tell
you
my story from into the future and not where I'm from? What
No,
happened?
listen, you have memories, and
Right.
these memories are the connections you have to the other experiences. There is no past and future, right?
Right.
There's only where you are. Your future and your past are just the same. You can be there, you can return there, you can go there.
Right.
All right? So if you were to tell these stories, we'll call them stories to the average layman here. If you tell these stories that, and you acknowledge that, you know the difference between the dream reality and your physical reality. However, it becomes more real. As you share that fiction, it becomes nonfiction.
Yes.
Just like the television is used to program people.
Screens, yeah.
Okay? If you can be viscerally involved, and just like if you tell a story and a good storyteller has people like, wow, I really, I'm in this world of yours, this, J.R. Tolkien world, or, this George Lucas world. I really feeling it, and I'm really enjoying the time that I'm there. If you have that ability to express yourself, then you will find the acceptance easy because people don't have to believe it actually is happening in a very physical, dense way, but it is portaling your reality to your outer reality. It's like the in-between manifestation state.
So do I, right. Do I start that?
Oh, you're wondering the physical side of what that would take.
I'm confused as to.
Action item?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm supposed to start. I guess, I mean, what am I driving at? I'm wondering if I'm supposed to, I'm kind of alluding to it, I'm not just saying it straightforwardly, is if I'm supposed to start, I'm becoming more and more and more, I can't, since I'm just becoming so straightforward with people that I'm wondering about all of this stuff that we're talking about. I'm finding it more and more difficult to just like,
Let it be out there for people?
I'm letting it be out there for people, but it's the normalizing of all the rabbit hole stuff, right? It's like it's getting so normal for me, and here's what I'm talking about, like not getting frustrated at the bus stop, right? But if you're at the bus stop for 25 years and you've had to like scrap and struggle with people trying to like throw you out in traffic all that time waiting for that bus, it's just like, but I know ultimately time's not real, but I'm not a baby anymore, so obviously something has happened in the time-space continuum that my physical form, my embodiment here has changed. Something is happening, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know I was telling people, I'm on video somewhere in a punk band I was in the mid-90s talking about how time wasn't real. Everybody used to talk about it in Iowa City. Um, I talked about it all like in depth, but so back to
Actual direction that feels comfortable, that you're wanting to know a little bit what this mission looks like.
I'm just like it's like it's all up to me though, right? It's like what the mission is. I can decide that I need to go
It is.
to the northwest, and then it's like then and
And
then
it's already planned out.
all right.
It's
Doesn't matter
already
what I
planned
do.
out.
It's all going to be perfect.
No, it does. It matters more and more, and you can do it to multiple degrees. When your heart's in it, you think you made it up, but you didn't.
I can put my heart into anything though. See, that's the deal. I'm really adaptable. That's why I've been able to do all of these different missions to such
That's
extremes.
true. And really, you'll find that you're looking at too many other people, for example, actually.
Okay. That's a
What
good
you're wanting to
thought.
know is by expressing yourself, that is actually the highest level of your heart. That's the greater point in your role. That's why
Singing,
so much
singing and writing. I don't sing and write anymore. Singing and writing.
Yes.
I used to sing and write. That was my whole life, and now I don't do either one. Is that it?
Yes. And talking with people.
I talk with people a lot. That's down.
And listen to what people have on their minds, in their imagination space. Right? That inspiration that you hear from other people is yours. It's just those, when it comes from someone else, it can be allowed sometimes more easily. So although you have all the inspiration from within you, there is still a lot from outside of you. So you derive inspiration from others, and you're also to explore that too, so that you can allow even more from within you to come forward. But I'm pretty sure, from my perspective, that writing and singing about a reality is the next major phase that you can take that will heighten your level of comfort with yourself. You can say it's fiction, or you can say it's nonfiction. So it's up to you. But to me, it's a real world. All right?
Yeah, was it just not the right time? Can you get any?
Let's just
Because
look at
I
this way.
I tried to sing.
You're,
That's
you
all I ever
already
wanted
caught
to do. I
you
tried
already
for so
caught
many years
yourself.
and it never worked.
I
And
know. You
I gave
already
up.
caught yourself in exactly the time loop paradox by saying, is it the right time?
Right.
At one point,
I keep forgetting.
you felt inexperienced, and so You challenged yourself to an environment to see if you were ready to do it. Now, just because you didn't seem to be fulfilled and you didn't make it doesn't mean that you're not constantly improving your circumstance. Remember, the fear is literally the only thing you're talking about here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's no such thing. When you know that you're ready, you're saying you don't know if you're ready. So what you do is you follow your heart one moment at a time and you see how it feels. And as long as you're following your heart, it will always work for you. Always. If you write a story and you really love it, you really enjoy it, and you doesn't matter to you if anyone takes it for face value or not, that's where it is the most real.
So if I follow... I'm sorry.
Your heart literally is that pure level of real coming forward. It's the most real thing there is. And it's the most way to make anything happen.
Right. So if I followed my heart into a bunch of stuff that, from a 3D perspective, I barely kind of escaped with my life along, 10 years ago for a number of years or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at...
I followed my heart into that, so I was supposed to experience all of that to get all that experience.
You did. It's another way of saying, I'm not done with this video game yet. I'm going to do another playthrough of Mario Bros.
It is a fucking video game. I didn't know it was a video game until recently.
Well,
I just got...
hold up the controller.
Well, I did. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know how many layers were behind. Like, I mean, obviously, like I said, I was in it. I mean, there was a reason why I made it. A lot of people didn't make it.
That's not true. That's not
true. Well, they didn't make it in this form. Whatever,
No, everybody made it. You just wrote some of them out of your story.
Wow. Okay,
you needed something visceral enough to convince yourself to not say, playing through the first level of Mario Brothers is the best thing all that there is. You wanted to see the other levels.
Yeah. Yes. I'm ready for more levels. So this is my big question. We're going to. I'm sorry if I'm just going around in circles. But you're giving me information. You're helping me a lot. But I'm hitting. Every time I look at the clock, it's coming up with the 44, which is crazy. During this whole time I've talked to you, I did that 4 times. I just have to.
You're going to warp zone.
I'm going to warp zone. Yeah, that's it. I want to accelerate, but with ease and grace and no harm. But I feel like I need to accelerate. I don't know what the acceleration is supposed to look like. I can't figure it out. I'm just doing the same thing every day.
It's supposed to look like exploring your heart, which is
exploring my heart.
Which is what you've known and you've done it before, and you know how it is. A broken heart has more limitations than one who's never loved. That sort of thing.
Right.
That makes your reality more visceral. It makes it more real because you have an expanded range of experiences within your world. It's like, let's have Lord of the Rings, but let's just take out all the bad guys. You know what I mean? We'll just have some happy hobbits crossing the country and delivering a ring.
That's what I want to do.
Well,
that's where I want to be.
Sure. But there would be
That's where I want us all to get there, right? We're all supposed to get there.
There'd be no need for the swords. There'd be no need for creepiness. Everybody would be happy. Yes, this is where the Pleiadians come from. Yeah. But you wouldn't be here if the Pleiadians weren't interested in the depth of experiences that are available on Earth.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I wanted to experience it.
So acknowledge your contrasting experiences, but also acknowledge them for the big picture. And the big picture is that you're transforming your reality and you're portaling in those who are seeking it. And what you will find more and more is that there's a lot more people seeking it than you even know about.
Yeah.
And you have to trust in that. The more you trust in that, the more you know that it's your world to play in. Now, what things you used to fear, they're not there anymore. There's no one getting killed for speaking their mind anymore. There really isn't. In fact, it basically, whenever anyone shines bright now, it gets the dark to sort of like cower more in their corner. They don't feel empowered to, reach out with a claw any longer. It's just not happening.
That's what I've been getting the last 2 weeks. That's why I'm talking to you,
The
my
air,
man. I wouldn't have talked to you 2 years ago because I would not have wanted the potential of this to get tracked to me, and I wouldn't be divulging all this stuff about myself because I've been underground, man. I'm coming out. That's what I want to know. Am I supposed to tell all of my story like the way so many other people have done in our circles? Is that what I'm supposed to start doing?
Now, how does
Get
that feel?
way out there?
Can you tell it in such a way that you might feel that it's an inspirational story?
Of course, because it's about because I'm good now. I'm great.
The end.
The end. That's it.
And
Start
let it
new.
be there for everyone else that's in your position, or has multiple different variations of your story too that they've experienced. You understand that accepting the past is the fastest way to your future.
Right. Okay. Exactly. Yes. That's why the breakthrough with Sierra happened and everything, because I couldn't hold back anymore when she was standing there talking about what happened with all of her, Southwest United States dark stuff. And that's why I had to go there. I'll tell you the next time I'm doing it. Well, I know we're out of time essentially, but I mean, I got a physical sign. I got a freaking gold key. A literal gold key that told me to go on the Opal tour. I'll tell you that next time. But I gave it to Sierra and Don Daniel. I gave it to Don Daniels actually. But that's a separate story. But that's what happened there, is because I allowed myself to find my Pleiadianness after I've gotten all these signals the last couple of years, who I really was, to come out to her, because I knew that she knew my story. She was my story. And that's why and since that happened, and that's why I'm talking to you right now, and all these people who have done that, they all put it all out there. You're one of those people, man. I mean, you are inspiring. You're out there with all of this stuff that is totally brave to do that. And I've been through so much stuff and survived so many things, so many harrowing circumstances, that I think, like, the whole thing with doing the sovereignty filings and all that stuff, it's just revving me up for what's coming. It's to getting back into the whole mode of where I was before 9/11, where I was in the moment and I was totally fearless before everything got super intense, when all that stuff happened.
So we have a childhood nature. And in that childhood nature, we are explorers of life. And yet you know the difference between a child and an adult. It seems for adults, they're running the program. They're keeping the program going. But they also hold the space for the child to explore. Okay? Yeah. Now, what happens now is when all the children decide that the adults aren't necessary anymore, because all the children have grown up. Yeah. They're all grown up, and they're saying this is our world now. Okay?
That's what yes, that's what we're doing.
And so, by nature and virtue of sharing oneself, you give that place as sort of like the adult child figure to the other children. Similar to Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. Okay?
Wayshowers, yeah.
Wayshowers to a degree. But at the same time, you wouldn't make it very far without being inspired by others. You see, on
No,
your own,
yeah,
you hold the fort, which is what you've done in the past,
right.
in such a way that you share so that you can continue to be inspired by others. You are now networked with yourself at a whole higher level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. I just have to embrace it if that's what I want.
Yeah, I'll take a look. But I'm pretty sure writing and singing is going to be a big part of it, and traveling still. Not quite yet. It'll be probably later this summer. Like
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I feel like I'm supposed to be traveling in the winter for sure. After what happened last year, it's got to do it.
hmm Well, I'm going to let you go for now.
Yeah, thanks, Julian.
Let's catch up again.
So you've got recordings of both of these, correct?
I do,
Okay,
and I can give you links.
that would be sweet.
Okay.
Because I can't remember a lot of what happened in the first one.
All right. I
Oh,
thought I might have gotten you a link, but I'll give you links to both.
you could just do it through email. Does that work? Do you have my email?
I will have a link that you can download off the internet, and I'll drop that in your Facebook messages.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, sir.
Very
My
well.
brother. I
Love
appreciate it.